My uncle didn't come to my brother's funeral. No flowers, no call, not even a text. 7 days later, he walked into the lawyer's office where I was supposed to sign paperwork from my brother's estate, slammed a folder on the table, and said, "You need to sign this today. The property is mine." It was my brother's apartment complex, 4 units in downtown Portland, worth $420,000. My cousin stood behind him, arms crossed, wearing the same smug expression I'd seen at every family gathering where money came up. My uncle looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Ryan promised me this. He owed me." I said the only thing I could manage: get out. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from my brother's best friend, Marcus. "Don't sign anything. I'm coming. I know what they did." Let me back up. 3 weeks ago, my brother Ryan died in a car accident. He was 28. A software engineer who'd spent 5 years saving and investing until he could buy that apartment complex. It was his dream. Financial independence by 35, he used to say. He was getting close. I'm 37, never married. Ryan was the only family I had left after our parents died 6 years ago in a house fire. Just me and him. We talked every day. He'd send me pictures of the apartments, updates on tenant issues, jokes about learning to fix plumbing at 2 in the morning. The funeral was small. My brother's friends from work, Marcus, some neighbors. I kept watching the door, thinking maybe Uncle Paul would show up late. He was my mom's brother, the only extended family Ryan and I stayed in touch with. Or so I thought. When the service ended, I checked my phone. Nothing from Uncle Paul. Nothing from his son Derek, my cousin. I called. Voicemail. I texted. Read receipts on, but no response. It felt like someone had punched me in the chest. Not just grieving Ryan, but realizing the people I thought were family couldn't even show up for 2 hours. I spent that week in a blur, arranging things, calling Ryan's bank, dealing with his apartment, going through his files. He'd been organized. Everything labeled, everything documented. The property deed, tenant agreements, mortgage information, all of it waiting for me in a folder marked "if anything happens." The lawyer Ryan had used to set up his estate, Martin Fletcher, had retired 2 months before the accident. The firm recommended someone new, Jennifer Yates. Young, sharp. When I walked into her office that Wednesday morning, she had Ryan's files spread across her desk. "I've reviewed everything," she said. "The will is straightforward. The apartment complex transfers to you. There's a mortgage, but the rental income covers it with about $1,500 left over each month." He set it up well. I nodded. Couldn't really speak. Seeing Ryan's signature on all these documents made everything feel crushing again. That's when the door opened. No knock. Uncle Paul walked in like he owned the place, my cousin Derek right behind him. "Emma," Uncle Paul said. My name sounded wrong coming from his mouth. "We need to talk." Jennifer stood up. "I'm sorry. This is a private meeting. You need to schedule." "I'm family," Uncle Paul interrupted. He pulled out a chair, sat down without being invited. "I have a right to be here. That property belonged to my nephew, and he owed me money. A lot of money." My hands went cold. "Ryan didn't owe you anything." "Oh, he didn't tell you?" Derek smirked. Classic Ryan. Didn't want big sis knowing he'd screwed up. Uncle Paul slid a folder across the table. Loan agreement. Signed by Ryan. $45,000 3 years ago. He used it as part of the down payment on that complex. Agreement states if he can't pay it back, the property becomes collateral. I opened the folder. There was a document. Typewritten. A signature at the bottom that looked like Ryan's handwriting. My stomach dropped. Jennifer reached over, pulled the document toward her. Started reading. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. "This isn't notarized," she said. "Didn't need to be," Uncle Paul said. "It's a family loan. We trusted each other." "Then you should have no problem proving Ryan received the funds," Jennifer said. Her voice was level, professional, but I could hear the steel underneath. "Bank records," Derek said. He pulled out his phone. "Right here. Wire transfer, $45,000, from my dad's account to Ryan's. 3 years ago, March 15th. I felt like the room was spinning. March 15th, 3 years ago. That was a month before Ryan bought the complex. The timing matched. "Let me see that," Jennifer said. Derek handed over his phone. She studied the screen, then looked at me. "Emma, did Ryan ever mention borrowing money from your uncle?" I shook my head. "Never." He showed me his financing breakdown. He had savings, a mortgage, and a small loan from his credit union. He was so proud of doing it himself. He lied to you, Uncle Paul said. Look, I don't want to make this ugly, but Derek's getting married next year. He needs money. Ryan promised if anything happened to him, we'd get the property. That was the deal. Something in his voice made my anger override my confusion. You didn't even come to his funeral. Uncle Paul's face hardened. We had reasons. What reasons? My voice came out louder than I intended. Your nephew died. Your nephew. And you couldn't show up for 2 hours? We were protecting our interests, Derek said. Lawyers advised us not to engage emotionally before securing our claim. That sentence, that cold, calculated sentence, something clicked. You knew, I said. You knew Ryan died, and your first thought was the property. Business is business, Uncle Paul said. Now sign the transfer papers. Derek's lawyer already drew them up. Jennifer stood up. Nobody's signing anything. This meeting is over. Emma is my client. You need to leave. Derek didn't move. We have a legal right to that property. Then file a claim through proper channels, Jennifer said. She walked to the door, opened it. This meeting is terminated. Uncle Paul stood up slowly. You're making a mistake, Emma. Ryan would want his family taken care of. You're not his family, I said. You proved that. They left. But Derek turned in the doorway. See you in court. And when we win, you'll owe us legal fees too. The door closed. I sat there, shaking. Jennifer sat back down, pulled the loan document closer. Something's wrong with this, she said. The signature looks like his, I said quietly. Handwriting can be forged. But look at the date. March 15th, 3 years ago. Ryan would have been 25. So I'm looking at his credit union loan application from April that same year. It lists his assets and liabilities. No personal loan to your uncle appears anywhere. My phone buzzed. Marcus, I'm 5 minutes away. Don't let them bully you. I texted back. They left. But they have papers. I know what papers. Ryan told me about this. They tried before. My hands froze over the phone. What? On my way. Jennifer was making notes. I want to run a forensic analysis on this loan agreement. Document authentication. We'll also subpoena bank records to verify that wire transfer actually went to Ryan's account, not just that it left your uncle's account. You think they're lying? I think people do desperate things for $420,000. Marcus arrived 10 minutes later. He looked like he hadn't slept since the funeral. Tall, black, wearing a software company hoodie and carrying a laptop bag. He'd been Ryan's best friend since college. Stood up at my birthday dinner 3 years ago and gave a speech about how Ryan was the most honest person he'd ever met. He sat down, pulled out his laptop. Ryan told me about this 8 months ago. Your uncle called him, said Derek needed money for a wedding. Asked Ryan to take out a home equity line of credit on the apartment complex. $50,000. Ryan said no. He never mentioned it to me, I said, because he didn't want you to worry. But he told me Paul got angry. Said Ryan owed him because Paul had helped him buy the property. Ryan was confused. He'd never borrowed money from Paul, never even asked. Marcus opened his laptop, pulled up a folder. Ryan was meticulous about records. He documented everything, including that phone call. He turned the screen toward us. An audio file, dated 8 months ago. The label said, Uncle Paul call, evidence. Jennifer leaned forward. He recorded it? Ryan recorded all his business calls after he became a landlord. Legal in Oregon. One-party consent. He labeled this one specifically because Paul made threats. Marcus played it. My uncle's voice came through the speakers, angry and slurred. Evening drinking? Probably. You ungrateful little punk. I gave you money for that complex. You think you bought it all yourself? I gave you $45,000. Ryan's voice, calm. Uncle Paul, I never borrowed money from you. I have all my financial records. There's no loan. Then you forgot. You were 25. Stupid with money. I helped you. And now you're going to help Derek. I'm not taking out a loan to give Derek money. If you want to help him, that's between you and him. I'll take the complex. It should be mine anyway. The complex is mine. I bought it. I'm paying for it. You need to go sleep this off. The call ended. Silence in the office. He was drunk, I said. Probably, Marcus said. But 8 months later, Ryan's dead. And suddenly there's a loan agreement that never existed before. Jennifer's expression had changed. This is fraud. This is attempted theft. If they forged that loan document, they did, Marcus said. Ryan checked every bank account, every credit card, every financial statement after that call. No 45,000 from Paul. No 45,000 to anyone. The money never existed. Then what's the wire transfer Derek showed us? I asked. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. My guess? Paul wired himself money from one account to another, or wired money to Derek. The timing matches Ryan's purchase date, but that doesn't mean it went to Ryan. Jennifer was already typing. I'm filing for a restraining order and notifying the police. This is wire fraud, forgery, attempted grand larceny. If Martin Fletcher is involved. The old lawyer? I asked. He retired right before this would have come up, Jennifer said. Coincidence? Maybe, but I'm going to call him. She picked up her phone. Put it on speaker. It rang 4 times before an older man's voice answered. Fletcher. Martin, it's Jennifer Yates. I took over the Ryan Morrison estate. A pause. Yes. Tragic situation. Lovely young man. Did Paul Morrison ever contact you about a loan agreement involving Ryan? The silence stretched out. Then, quietly, he did. About 6 months ago. Asked if I could confirm a loan from 3 years prior. I told him I had no record of it. I reviewed Ryan's files. No loan existed. I told Paul that if he had documentation, he'd need to provide original copies with proper verification. Did he? No. He called me a few more times, got belligerent. I told him I was retiring and couldn't help him. That's the last I heard. Did you tell Ryan? I did. Ryan said he'd never borrowed from Paul and asked me to note it in his file if Paul contacted me again. I made a memo. Should be in the estate documents. Jennifer flipped through the files, found a page marked Memo, Morrison Family Inquiry. It detailed 3 calls from Paul Morrison, all asking about a loan that didn't exist in any records. Thank you, Martin, Jennifer said. One more question. Did you ever create or sign any loan documentation for Paul Morrison regarding Ryan's estate? Absolutely not. I would never falsify documents. If someone claimed you had, what would you say? I'd say they're lying, and I'd testify to that under oath. The call ended. Jennifer looked at both of us. They're counting on Martin being retired and hard to reach. They might have even claimed he was dead to make verification harder, but he's very much alive, and he'll testify this loan never existed. My phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Emma Morrison? A woman's voice. Yes? This is Detective Sarah Chen, Portland Police Department. I'm calling about an incident report filed this morning. A Paul Morrison claimed his nephew's estate was being stolen from him and requested we investigate. I'm calling to get your side. I looked at Jennifer. She nodded. Detective, my uncle is attempting to defraud me. He's claiming a loan existed that never did. He has forged documents. My attorney is filing charges now. Can you come to the station? I'd like to take a full statement. I can be there in an hour. Perfect. Bring all documentation. And Miss Morrison, if your uncle contacts you again, do not engage. Call me immediately. She gave me her direct number. I wrote it down with shaking hands. The next 3 hours were a blur. Police station. Statement. Detective Chen listening carefully as Marcus played the recording. Jennifer presenting the documents. The memo from Martin Fletcher. The timeline that didn't add up. We'll investigate, Detective Chen said. This looks like fraud, but we need to verify the wire transfer Derek showed you. If that money went somewhere other than Ryan's account, we have them. How long? Jennifer asked. Few days for the bank records. Week at most. We left. I felt exhausted. Marcus drove me home. I lived in a small house in Southeast Portland. Ryan used to joke that I should rent it out and live in one of his apartment units. Save money, build equity. He was always thinking about the future. I sat on my couch. Marcus made coffee. My phone buzzed. Derek, you called the cops? Really? Over a family dispute? I didn't respond. Blocked the number. 10 minutes later, Uncle Paul called. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message. Emma, this is getting out of hand. Let's talk like adults. Derek doesn't want to sue family. Just sign over one of the units. Keep 3 for yourself. We'll call it even. I called Detective Chen. Sent her the voicemail. Thank you, she said. Keep documenting everything. The next 2 days were silent. No calls, no texts. I went to work. I taught high school English. My students had made me cards about Ryan. I cried in my car during lunch break. Day 3, Jennifer called. Bank records came through. That wire transfer from Paul's account, it went to Derek's account. Never touched Ryan's accounts. They sent money between themselves and tried to use the date as proof. Can they claim it was meant for Ryan but went to the wrong account? They could claim anything, but Ryan's bank records show zero deposits of $45,000 ever from anyone. The prosecution can prove the money never reached Ryan, which means there was no loan. What happens now? Detective Chen is getting arrest warrants for fraud, forgery, and attempted theft. They'll probably be arrested today. My hands were shaking again. Good. There's something else. I pulled court records. Paul filed for bankruptcy 4 years ago, lost his house. He's been renting. Derek has $30,000 in credit card debt. They're desperate. That's not my problem. No. But it explains why they're doing this and why they need you to believe their story. That evening, Marcus came over, brought Thai food. We sat in my living room, eating pad Thai and not really talking. Ryan would hate this, I finally said. Ryan would hate that they tried to steal from you, Marcus corrected. He'd want you protected. I keep thinking about the funeral, how they didn't come, and I wondered if maybe I'd done something wrong, if I'd offended them somehow. You didn't. They were already planning this. Coming to the funeral would have made them look sympathetic, made you trust them. They stayed away because they're cowards. My phone rang. Detective Chen. They've been arrested. Both Paul and Derek Morrison. They're being charged with wire fraud, forgery, and attempted grand larceny. We also found evidence they tried to bribe Martin Fletcher to sign off on fake documents. He refused and reported it. When did they try to bribe him? 3 weeks ago, right after Ryan died. Fletcher reported it to his former law firm, but before they could act, he retired. The report got lost in the transition. What happens now? They'll be arraigned tomorrow. Bail will probably be set. Then we move to trial unless they take a plea deal. Would they go to prison? Wire fraud is a federal crime. They're looking at mandatory minimum sentences if convicted. Paul could get 3 to 5 years. Derek, probably 18 months to 2 years, since he's younger and this appears to be Paul's plan. I thanked her, hung up, looked at Marcus. It's over, he said. But it wasn't. Not really. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in Jennifer's office again. Paul and Derek had both taken plea deals. Paul got 3 years federal prison, 5 years probation after release, and a $50,000 fine. Derek got 18 months, 3 years probation, and 200 hours of community service. They also had to pay restitution for all my legal fees. The property is fully yours, Jennifer said. No liens, no claims. Free and clear. I signed the final papers. My hands didn't shake this time. What will you do with it? Jennifer asked. Keep it, I said. Ryan built this. I'm not letting it go. 3 months later, I was standing outside the apartment complex. 4 units, all rented. The mortgage payment came out automatically each month. The tenants were good people. I'd met them all, learned their names, fixed a leaky faucet in Unit 2, hired someone to repaint the exterior. Marcus had helped me set up a website, property management basics, how to screen tenants, how to handle maintenance. I was learning. But that wasn't why I was here today. I'd been thinking about Ryan's dream, financial independence, helping people, building something that mattered. I decided to start a scholarship fund. The Ryan Morrison Tech Education Fund. Money from the apartment complex would fund scholarships for kids who wanted to study computer science, but couldn't afford it. Kids like Ryan, who'd worked 3 jobs to get through college. The first scholarship was going out next month, $3,500, to a senior at my high school who'd been accepted to Oregon State. She wanted to be a software engineer. Marcus stood next to me. He'd love this. Yeah, I said. He would? My phone buzzed. Detective Chen. Just wanted to let you know. Paul Morrison was officially sentenced today. 3 years, like the plea deal. He'll be eligible for parole in 18 months if he behaves. Thank you for calling. One more thing. He asked to send you a letter. From prison. We have to ask permission of the victim before delivering it. I thought about it. About Uncle Paul sitting in a cell, thinking about what he'd done. Part of me wanted to know what he'd say. Part of me never wanted to hear from him again. No, I said. Tell him no. Understood. Take care, Miss Morrison. I put my phone away, looked up at the building. 4 stories, 16 windows, all of them Ryan's windows, Ryan's dream. Mine now. I'd visited Ryan's grave that morning, told him about the scholarship, about keeping the building, about how I was learning to fix things, just like he did. I told him I missed him, every single day. And I told him that Uncle Paul didn't win. Derek didn't win. The people who tried to take what he built, who didn't even show up to say goodbye, they didn't win. Because I was still here, and I was protecting what mattered. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. Coffee? Yeah, I said. Coffee sounds good. We walked to the cafe on the corner. The one where Ryan used to meet his tenants, where he'd sit with his laptop, answering maintenance emails and planning renovations. I ordered his usual: black coffee, extra shot of espresso, way too much sugar. Sat in his favorite seat by the window. And for the first time since the funeral, I felt like maybe I'd be okay. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. Because Ryan had built something good, something real, and I was going to make sure it lasted. That was justice, not the arrests or the prison sentences or the legal fees. Justice was keeping his dream alive. Justice was making sure kids who couldn't afford college got a chance. Justice was proving that family isn't about blood or last names or who shows up with fake documents. Family is about who shows up when it matters, who sits with you in the hard moments, who helps you protect what's important. Marcus was family. The tenants who'd sent flowers to the funeral were family. Detective Chen, who'd taken my case seriously, was family. Uncle Paul and Derek? They were just strangers with my last name, and that was fine with me. I finished my coffee, left a tip, walked outside. The Portland sun was breaking through clouds, rare for November. Ryan would have taken a picture, sent it to me with some joke about Oregon weather. I took the picture instead, sent it to Marcus. He'd love this, I texted. He would, Marcus replied. Proud of you. I looked up at the apartment building one more time. Then I got in my car and drove home. Tomorrow, I'd collect rent, check in with tenants, maybe fix that squeaky door in Unit 4. But today, I'd done enough. Today, I'd protected what Ryan built. And that was everything.